Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of Coffee Connection. Today, as our guest, we have Nicole Albrecht from Financial Services. Nicole has been doing my taxes for a couple of years, and she has, for longer than that, for probably the last 7 years, been in front of Keller Williams and our team meetings, coming up with some very creative, wonderful ways to help save money in our businesses. So I wanted to give way to Nicole to kind of lead this discussion because, as you can imagine, I imagine you tuned in because you either know Nicole or myself, or you have an interest in learning about how your businesses can survive through this COVID. So Nicole, without any further ado, why don't you I'll let you do your thing and tell people a little bit about you.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Jamie's on the call. She knows me pretty well, but my name's Nicole Albrecht. My partner is Fred Karma. We own Financial Accounting Services, where we look at proactive tax planning. So we understand that clients don't care about the actual tax return. They care about three things. They don't want to go to jail. They want to pay as little as legally possible to the IRS. And they want to know that it's done right and kind of behind the scenes and presented to them with a teacher's heart so that they can understand what they're filing. And that's what we do here at Financial Accounting Services. We have a payroll firm, a bookkeeping firm, an investment firm, and then the tax firm. So it's a little bit about us and our team. We have 16 on our team currently right now. We have 2 members in the office for drop off and pickup only. And then doing an awful lot of Zoom calls with clients in the community, just letting them know everything that's out there. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up this quick PowerPoint presentation. There's typically, when I do a PowerPoint presentation, there's no, we've been told do not overwhelm the slides with words. Well, right now we're overwhelming the slides with words because there's a lot of really complicated packages out there that the government released with the CARES Act, and it just makes it a little bit easier to understand. I'm not going to read all these words because we can all read. I can send Liz the slideshow when I'm done, and she can pass it out to whoever asks for it, and that would be fine. But basically, I wanted to cover a couple of quick things. So let me put it in the slideshow presentation. Agenda, and this isn't, I'm going to run through these things, but this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the tax extensions, what was really extended. Since we are talking to a lot of real estate agents and real estate investors, we'll talk about the extension of the 1031s and opportunity zone funding, the stimulus payments, which a lot of us have gotten, and then unemployment, and then the different type of loans that are out there right now with the government.
That's great.
So the first thing is tax extensions. Not only did 2019 deadline get extended, April, actually this is probably unless tax deadline falls on the 17th, I'm not typically in the office right now. I'm usually on a trip. Happy to be here today though, because for the first time ever, I've been doing taxes for 20 years. Our extensions got pushed now till July 15th. That's not only to file, but it's also to pay. So I've never seen that, and I don't think in the history that the IRS has ever given an extension to pay. Also, first quarter estimated payments for 2020 and second quarter is also extended to July 15th. And then just really quickly, if there's any investors that are in a 1031 exchange or opportunity zones, there's really oh wait, that's my next slide, sorry. Also with the tax extensions, the health savings account funding and the IRA funding for 2019 has also been extended to July 15th. So that's nice for a lot of people who do have money on the sidelines and did very well last year and continuing to do well this year. There are businesses out there that are doing well through this. They're able to invest. Now is a great time to invest. If you do have a lot of savings, obviously, and cash on the sidelines, now is a great time to get in the stock market because, as we know, it's on sale and we don't know how long the sale is going to last. And then so for real estate investors, the 1031 and the opportunity zones have also been extended through, they're giving longer periods because a lot of deals are falling through, as you can imagine. Stimulus checks, a lot of those hit. I saw a lot of really funny memes on Facebook. I've never really been on Facebook much, but I feel like I've lived on there right now, just trying to get this information out to the community. But a lot of people, were like, oh, April 15th, for the first time ever, I got something from the IRS. I didn't have to give something to the IRS. So single people that made under 75,000 got 1,200, and married people 150,000, 2,400. It starts to phase out if you're single, about to 100,000, married filing joint to about 200,000. I rounded up a little bit there. So those are the stimulus checks. I think probably about half my clients have received those stimulus checks. The other half are still waiting for them. So a lot of people are like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. There's another round going out. The IRS is currently closed, so you can't call them and ask them where it is. When you go on the website, it just says that they're either processing it or that there might be some delay in it. So that's just common error messages that everyone's getting right now. Another thing, we were promised that IRS would not delay refunds for tax year 2019. And in fact, they have delayed refunds. We have clients that had really large refunds before this even started happening, the third week of March, that still hasn't been processed yet. So unfortunately, refunds are also being delayed right now. Unemployment, I talked to a lot of corporate owners, and so I'm suggesting for corporations that have their officers on W-2, if your business has been impacted, and I like to say, I want to stress if. None of the tips and tricks and stimulus packages are for those that are doing well right now. It's for the businesses that are hurting. And not to get on a soapbox, but I think it's really important that we don't try and abuse this system, even though there's a lot of free money out there, and we leave it for those businesses that might not survive this for the better of our economy, right? Small business owners are the backbone of our economy. That's what keeps America great, and there's a lot of them that might not survive this. So I think it is really important to leave that money for clients and for community leaders and business owners that do need this. So if you're an officer and your business has been impacted by COVID, we are recommending that you stop taking your W-2 and you start collecting unemployment. You are entitled to that. You've been paying in on that. If you are S corporation and you're a W-2 owner or W-2, you get a W-2. So there is something new in unemployment that a lot of clients don't quite understand. We don't even quite understand it yet, but it's called this pandemic unemployment assistance. Typically, a self-employed individual, this is your Schedule C, your sole proprietor. So don't think the person that incorporated and is taking a W-2. This is for those that are Schedule C. And what it is for the first time ever, they are eligible to collect unemployment. So usually Schedule C sole proprietors don't pay into unemployment, so they don't get to collect it. For the first time ever now, the state is opening up this pandemic unemployment assistance program. Unfortunately, because all this information got rolled out and passed so quickly, our state, no state is able to handle, so the application questions when you go online to file unemployment aren't matching up to someone who is unemployed. I'm sorry, is self-employed. So they're getting kicked out immediately, saying that they don't qualify. We've been told by the state by April 28th that the application is going to be able to accept self-employed individuals. So what they're going to look at is they're going to really look at their 2019 Schedule C filing. And so if you went really heavy on deductions, and typically you're making $90,000 a year, but you've written off everything and you're only filing on $20,000 of net income, it goes off of net after expenses. That's going to be really important because that's what your unemployment's going to be based on. And then when we get to the PPP program, if they open that back up and fund it again, it's also going to base on the PPP program. So there is going to be some finessing and running numbers to see which is going to be more beneficial for you to file. And we can help clients on an individual basis with that, because every situation, what I found to this is every single situation is very, very different. Any questions so far? Liz?
So, Nicole, do you know for a fact that PPP is the first stimulus package is gone already?
Yeah.
So if you have not received word, you're done for now.
So what we understand is if you have not received, once you submit the application, you get like a funding number. If you have not received that number, if your application has not been accepted, Right now, it is totally it's out of money. We expect, and we've been told that the feds are going to release another stimulus package to fund the next phase of this. So we're still telling clients, get with your bank, file that PPP loan if you need it, if your business has been affected, and get your number, get in line, because it's going to go again very, very quickly, like we've seen.
Right. Now,
What's unfortunate.
I do know in my case, I ended up having both filed for the emergency relief and received a number, but no email. That was on day one at midnight. And then the PPP we received your application, and that's the end of it so far. And that was day one when it was available at my bank. So
what's your bank, Liz?
Chase Bank.
Chase, okay, yeah. We know that the major banks, Bank of America and Chase, we've been told, were the most successful at rolling this out really quickly. I won't commentary on that. Yeah. And so the smaller banks, unfortunately, where most of our community banks at, because we want that personal relationship. A lot of us got burned really bad in 2008 by the big banks. We didn't, the bailout money, all of that stuff. For other reasons, we've decided to bank locally with our community. And as hard as they tried, they were really delayed. They didn't have the same resources, obviously. So they're really delayed in getting the apps up. And as a business owner, you had to have your corporate bank account with the bank that you were applying for. So I have a lot of business owners that really, really needed the PPP loan that still don't even have their banks, the apps aren't up yet. Right. So that's really unfortunate. And just, I don't know, not fair. But through this, we got to look at the silver lining, right? There's a lot of great things that are going to happen because of our, our great pause that has happened. And, we just kind of have to keep looking forward, one day at a time through this. So,
right. Absolutely.
Nicole, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a lot of my clients who are sole proprietors and self-employed. You mentioned that the unemployment possible amount that they would receive would be based on their Schedule C. You said for year 2019.
Right.
A lot of them haven't filed for 2019 yet because there is an extension. So does that mean they're not going to have access?
So again, what I say, I feel like every time I say something today, 2 days later, we get clarification from the government and it changes. So what I understand today is that's correct. They will need to file their 19 return to be able to get access. I really think for this self-employed individual, unfortunately, the Schedule C person, I don't think there's going to be much of a PPP funding for them. The intention behind the government, the feds for the PPP loan is to bring workers back to work, to get them off of unemployment. And most Schedule C sole proprietors don't have employees. And so that's why all the corporations are kind of first in line for that. And they didn't even open up the applications for the sole proprietor. But the PUA, the unemployment benefit, and then there's a federal piece to that that's also an additional $600 per week, depending on the income that the Schedule C filer makes. That we believe they will need the 2019 tax return to get that. But again, we don't even have the apps yet until April 28th. So that might all change. And I don't think that will be like a PPP loan. That won't run out of money. So once the apps are available on April 28th, I think we can look at the questions. We can be able to run some calculations and make the best determination. Like, can we use 2018 numbers? Can we use 2019 numbers? We started doing that in our firm very quickly when the stimulus plan came out. If I had clients that made a lot less money in 2019 than they did in 18, so it was really beneficial to file 19 as fast as we could to maximize that stimulus plan, that stimulus check for our clients that needed the money. Or 2018 was better, so we held off on filing 2019. So I think it's going to be the same thing with this PUA. We're going to have to run the numbers and really see. So that wasn't helpful to answer your question, but my best knowledge. So I don't even like talking about this because this part kind of makes me sick. As a lot of you know, we are endorsed by Dave Ramsey, and I follow Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University very, very closely in our firm and for our clients. And I think that's one of the reasons why our firm has been greatly impacted by this. We were down 53%. I've never seen a down quarter, but we're down 53%. That's okay because it's just going to be summertime. I'm not going to be at the beach having Fridays off. We're going to be very busy making money again. But the reason why we're able to weather the storm so well is because of my partner and Dave Ramsey and what he has taught us about running our business, about leaving money in there for the rainy day. That's why we're able to weather this. And so another really important principle of Dave Ramsey's is not to pull out of your retirement. So when I coach clients financially, I like to look at kind of like would be the last resort, right? This is the very last resort, is this retirement plan relief that the government came out with, the CARES Act. But basically, you can now pull from your IRA or your 401k with a lot less penalties and a lot less taxes. Again, a lot of us are complaining like, oh, my 401k is down 30%. It's really not. It's not down until you cash out, right? On paper, it's a paper loss until you decide to say, like, I'm done. I can't take this roller coaster ride anymore. I'm deciding to cash out and pull my money out. At that point in time, you are down 30%. So if you can help it, don't pull from any retirement. It's really, really discouraged. If you could just leave it in there, it will come back, I promise. I don't know how long it will take. It might take a year, it might take 3 years, but it will come back. So last resort to pull from retirement plans. But we do like to look at all avenues of how to get cash right now during these times to survive and keep what's important. So this is one of the resources out there.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful.
Yeah. So
any other questions so far?
Yeah. Any questions? So PPP loan, I'm going to quickly go through this because as Liz commented, there's no more money right now. We're hoping the government opens this back up, but basically this is a loan. It's based on payroll numbers, or if you're self-employed, which I haven't heard any self-employed Schedule C owners even being able to apply yet.
Right.
Is that you could get 2.5 times your average payroll cost. There's a lot of numbers that go into that payroll cost. It's medical insurance. If you're a corporation and you do safe harbor matching on 401ks, part of that goes into that calculation. You're able to get 2.5 times the amount of your average monthly payroll costs. We have a really cool Excel spreadsheet we set up for that because we're nerds over here. And once you receive those funds, what we understand is the day that you receive the funds, and I've heard of, we work with about 700 business owners at Financial Accounting Services. I know 3 people that have gotten funds so far from either this or the economic injury disaster loan. And once you get the funds from the PPP loan, you use them immediately. You have 8 weeks to bring back your payroll crew or your employees and use them on payroll. You use 75% of the money on payroll and 25% on rent and utilities for your business, not your home, but your business. And then this loan converts to a grant that's totally tax-free, and it's totally, you don't have to pay it back because it converts over to a grant. So this is pretty powerful. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a community, a leader right now. And they really are doing the best they can in this unfortunate time, as quick as they can. I'm really shocked, actually, how quickly they have rolled out plans of this size. So,
could I jump in for a quick second? I
sure
just want to mention that from a small business owner myself, I mean, there is this this moral issue also, that sits at the core of this, is saying, my choices will impact the people on my team, long-term, short-term. And then how do you pick up from where you left off? Let's say you either furlough them and they need to survive, or you lay them off and they get unemployment. It may take weeks. So there's so much more here. And this has been at least some peace of mind to know there's an option for good choices, for choices of hanging on to people. In my case, I have a small staff. I couldn't imagine if I had 40 or 50 people, what that would be like.
Yeah. So I can share a little bit about what we chose to do. And it's not that we're amazing leaders. It's that we've had amazing mentorship throughout the years with Dave Ramsey and Darren Hardy. Immediately, the days before the forced shutdown, we could kind of see the writing on the walls. I have a lot of millennials on our team, and they were really, really scared. So being a leader, stepping up and letting them know, like, we will get through this. This is what we're doing. Here is our cash reserves team. We can get through this. We have 16 weeks of cash reserves, just really putting their mind at ease. And then when the forced shutdown happened, at that point in time, before the forced shutdown, I had some people that decided to leave and work from home. Thank God, over the last 2 years. I can't imagine if we did this, in 2015, right? Before all this amazing technology. I mean, it would have we wouldn't have survived. Our firm wouldn't have survived. But because of the last 2 years, we spent a lot of money and a lot of resources in building this very technical cloud atmosphere. So literally, I had my team be able to buy cheap computers, go home, put a secure password on them, but there's nothing on their computers, because then they had this really intense password and code to get up onto the cloud so that employees could work from home. Well, that was great for the employees that do actual inputting of tax returns or bookkeeping or payroll or investments, right? But I have, half of our team is an admin team. They greet our clients. They are answering phone calls. They're booking appointments. They're scanning in for us. So what do you do with those half? So as a team, we got together. Fred and I are the heaviest payroll on our team. We're the owners. So we have enough savings. We decided to stop taking payroll immediately or any draws from the company. And then the team together all agreed that no matter how much we all put in right now, we were going to give 30 hours to everyone, no matter what. And so everyone kind of, suffered a little bit, but not enough to survive, so that we could get through this before we even knew of the PPP loan. But again, Liz, to your comment, this is a great program to be able to bring employees back and to open up, your business and not to go under for those that don't have the savings.
It gives us hope. A lot of times you feel like you're hanging out in space and your thoughts are your absolute worst enemy. But even if this doesn't come, it gives me hope, and it gives me purpose to keep going and to find better ways to be smarter and, and keep people going and encourage people to hang in there. And, there's a point where, they'll let you know if they're done. But at the same time, I like that from a leader standpoint. Great. Yeah. Thank you.
And I think it's really important too to check in on your team, to have these Zoom meetings, to call and just find out. Dave Ramsey, Entree Leadership, I think it's /hope, has an amazing tool where it's like a weekly report card where on Friday morning, it sends it out to my whole team, and they get to report like with a happy face, a sad face, or a solemn face, like how they're feeling. So then at first I was like, wow, that's cheesy. All I'm going to get is sad faces because it's stressful right now. And I got the report back 2 weeks ago, and it was just really amazing. One person was really upset because her church had gone and did some missionary work, and some people had contracted the COVID, and it was starting to spread through the church. And so that was her stress. So I got to call her and pray with her about that stress. I had another team member who was having some fights at home. And so I got to call them and I'm not a relationship expert. That is definitely not, that's not my hat or my wheelhouse, but I was able to at least reach out to them and pray with them and let them know that I was here if they needed any resources. So that's an amazing free tool right now to reach out to your team and to just connect. People are scared right now, and you just need to connect with them and let them know that it's going to be okay. I also, there's a gentleman by the name of Don Miller, and he has a brand called Story Brand about sharing stories. And he had done an interview with a guy who had really studied Winston Churchill and just his amazing leadership through crisis and how he got England and the English people through it. And it was always about talking about that one day in the future. And so what we've done for our team is that one day for us is July 16th. And that's because it's right after extension deadline. We anticipate we'll be really busy up until then, and that's exciting. So I shared that excitement, like, oh guys, no more Fridays off, no more beaches, no more surfing with the fam. We're going to be grinding it out with work. But that's exciting right now because we want to work. Truth be told, on April 10th, when someone pulls up in our parking lot to drop off a return, I'm like, oh, not another tax return. Right. And now when someone pulls in, I'm like, hey guys, we got another tax return, right? Perspective when it changes. And so to be able to share that with the team, like, oh my gosh, we're going to be grinding it out in July, but July 16th, we're gonna rent a place in wine country, and we're gonna bring in a chef, and we're gonna have a huge celebration and pop champagne bottles and
Oh, that's great.
congratulate everyone from getting through this and stepping up and being creative. We have, and just that point, that celebration point in time, that hope is so important to share with people. And so I encourage leaders with their team to define that point in time. And if we're shut down a little bit longer, that point in time just moves a couple weeks.
Right.
But we can still have that hope there.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have that's not super boring? We have the any questions so far?
Not yet.
Economic injury disaster loan. This is an actual loan. What we understand is if you apply for it, you will get a advancement within 3 days. I know of one person that got that advancement, and that came out about 4 weeks ago. So
yeah, I didn't get one. I got a confirmation number, but no advancement.
Yeah, so that's what we're hearing. But it's supposed to be 10,000. What we understand now, not from the legislation, but from guidance from the SBA, is that 10 grand is actually 1,000 per employee, is what we're hearing. Although the one person I did talk to has 2 employees, and he got the 10 grand. So, I don't know what's going on with that, but that 10 grand can be rolled into the PPP loan. It's not in addition to the PPP loan,
right.
But you can roll it in there, and that becomes free money if you use it for payroll. The rest is an actual loan. So you do have more flexibility on what you can do with that money. You can use it to pay your accounts payable and things like that. I don't ever love saying money's cheap, because I just think borrowing in a time of crisis is not a good idea. But I did let all my clients know I do think that it's important to apply for it and have it there, because we don't know how long this is going to be. Interest rate is 3.75, and you can push it over 30 years. But my recommendation would be, when the economy is roaring again and we're all very busy, back into our busy lives, and making money, to pay it off as soon as possible. Quick comparison of the two. So if you want to take a quick snapshot of this picture, that's probably a really good, like, what is the difference between the PPP loan and the EIDL loan? If you go to my Facebook page, we've done a ton of videos on this. Or if you email me directly, I'll share my email at the end. I can put you on our constant contact, where we make a video probably every 2 or 3 days as things change. I hate to even look at my other videos in the very beginning of time, because they're probably all wrong from what I know now, but
It changes daily.
It changes daily. So Jamie really likes this slide, and she put it into perspective for me when I called crying one day. But basically, you have the things that matter, the things that you can control. This is what you should focus on, is kind of, the things when those two come together.
Awesome.
I love this. I think it's just, again, providing hope. So can't wait until, I'm sure you know what, I hats off right now. Seriously, I have some team members that fit this, but to the moms who are homeschooling and working full-time still from home, like, I can't, when I call some of my team members, and they're, with one baby, and they're trying to tell the other, like, 5-year-old how to do math, and they're still talking to me, I'm like, oh man, hats off. I can't wait till we're back open and I can hand you a big bonus.
Yeah, totally.
So that's all I have. I'm open for whatever you want to do now, Liz.
That's wonderful. You did great, and you put it in our beautiful half-an-hour slot. So now, Jamie, do you work with Nicole?
Yes, in fact, for my success today and my peace of mind today is because when Nicole and I first became friends, she suggested that I read Financial Peace by Dave Ramsey. And so without having to go through the classes and all of that stuff, those were behaviors that I adopted long before I became a business owner. So thanks to Nicole, I hate to say this, a ton of money just sitting on the side so that I don't have to be stressed out. And I want to give a lot of kudos to Nicole and Rob, because I recognize FAS as one of those businesses that was very quick to pivot in this critical time. The videos that they've been doing have been absolutely stellar, and it's like listening to the news, but legitimate information that is beneficial to everybody. And so, you know, Nicole was talking about her team being creative and being flexible and things like that. That comes from the top, and that comes from Nicole. So kudos to you for being willing to and able to pivot so quickly as a business owner and as a community leader, because it has just changed the landscape, honestly, of Facebook. And
That's wonderful.
Nicole, please be on Facebook more often.
Thank you, Jamie. Liz, Jamie is one of our referral partners. She does health insurance, and so usually that's one of our clients' first or second questions. And so we refer Jamie. She specializes in Medicare, but also group insurance, which helps our S Corporation clients as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good to know. And on the line also is Lori Provost. Lori, do you have your...
Lori Provost. Hi, Lori.
Hello, hello. I'm not videoing today.
That's okay. Good to
you know what,
hear you.
Nicole, this is awesome because all these questions you just answered for me. I have a hairdresser who's a friend, just like Tara, but she's a Schedule C, and she filled out that unemployment application. And of course, I helped her fill it out, and she got kicked back. So I'm excited to tell her to reapply on April 28th. I mean, because they're, you know, just all the little things you got. I do have one question for you, though. My daughter and several of her friends were dependents in 2018 and not in 2019 because they were college students. But like Kayla just filed her tax return. Is she going to get that stimulus? How does that work for college students that are now are not dependents anymore?
Yeah, as long as they filed 19 and they claim themselves, through all the guidance we're reading, is they will get that stimulus check. It just depends on how recently they filed. So the more recently they filed, like last week, it's going to be a while until they get that stimulus check, because the IRS is really slow right now at processing those refunds. And we're not sure why, because they're electronically filed and we get the electronic, the acknowledgement letter, which I don't know why they're so long at processing. Everything's electronic. I understand mailing. No one's opening mail at the IRS, but yeah, they should get their stimulus check as long as they've e-filed 2019 return and they claim themselves.
Okay, great.
1,200. Well, and they made under, of course, a college student, but under 75,000.
Yeah,
so I have a quick question for you. I have a family member in Florida who received her stimulus package over the weekend, and it was not the 1,200. It was, and she was very grateful for it, so she wasn't balking about it. But I was curious. She received $990.
Okay, so if it was a stimulus check, some people confuse their refund from 2019 with a stimulus check. But what that sounds like, is she single?
Yes.
It sounds like she made over 75,000, but not quite 98,000. So in between that, you get phased out. I want to say it's $50 for every $1,000 more. So being that it was about $600 less, yeah, she probably made about 87,000, something like that. That's why.
And if you are an individual like me, now obviously I may not qualify, but let's say you're a real estate agent like me, and you have not yet filed your 2019 taxes, you're at the end of the line, aren't you?
No, it goes off your 2018 taxes.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, and this isn't something that's going to run out of money either. It's just, you know, they have to process through these things. Something interesting that we don't know how that's going to handle, which was like a huge question when it started hitting, is we had some married couples where one spouse passed away in 2018. So when they filed their 18 return, they're still married filing joint, but appropriately we put, you know, which spouse passed away and the date they passed away. Plus the IRS knows that from Social Security. And interestingly enough, if they hadn't filed their 2019 return yet, they got $2,400. They got $1,200 for their deceased spouse. We're not sure how the IRS is going to handle it, because I don't feel like it would be good publicity saying, you know, IRS went into bank accounts and clawed back $1,200 from widowers. But we don't know how that's going to handle. So my advice is hang on to that $1,200. Don't spend it just in case. Let's see how this plays out. And when the IRS is open, we'll call them and we will find out. So hang on, don't spend that 1,200, put it in savings.
Interesting. And one last question for you, Nicole. I heard rumor, and of course it's only rumor, that there was something that was affecting payroll taxes
Yes.
For an employer.
Yeah.
Tell me how that works right now.
Yeah, so we're not 100% sure how that works, but I just made a video on that, and that's on my, that's the last video on our Facebook website. But basically, it's called the, well, who cares what it's called? But what it looks like is if you don't take the PPP loan, so you can't do these at the same time, and you are keeping people on payroll, you will get an employer credit on their portion of the payroll tax. And we think that's going to come through when you file your quarterlies, your 941s. But this is in if you didn't get the PPP loan. Okay. So it's still, being worked out, and we don't quite know how the credits are going to come out, but we think it's going to be on those 941s when you file quarterly. So, and that's up to a year. There's a weird calculation that it goes through each month, but for people that didn't get the PPP loan, that's going to be a good alternative. And some people, it might make sense to even do that instead of the PPP loan. We have some examples of that if you email me.
Yeah, I think my average payroll taxes are about 15 to 18 from the employer side per month. So, I mean, if they continue to give a discount, I still was ahead.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, wonderful. Any other last questions before we wrap up? I think we had a latecomer to it. Let's see if she's still on. Well, I think we lost her, but oh, there we go. Susie, are you on?
Technology.
Hey, Susie, are you on? Susie? I guess she's having technical difficulties. Well, Susie, if you can hear us, we will be recording this entire message, and we will have a copy back out to Nicole. And at the same time, you will also be able to download her slides, I would imagine, if you need to, or ask Nicole about that. You'll also find it on my website, which is Liz Jones, or Jones Realty Group, SoCal. So first of all, thank you, Nicole, so much for being here and taking your time. And thank you, Lori and Jamie and Susie. I'm sorry that we had technical difficulties, but thank you very much for being here, ladies. And what a great environment to share and lift each other up. So this is great.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.